Thanks for tuning in to the Drive On podcast, where we're focused on giving hope and strength to the entire military community. Whether you're a veteran, active duty, guard, reserve, or a family member, this podcast will share inspirational stories and resources that are useful to you. I'm your host, Scott DeLucio, and now let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to Drive On. I'm your host, Scott DeLucio, and today my guest is Charlynne Boddie. Charlynne is an ordained minister and coach with extensive experience serving the military community. She's worked as a guest military chaplain, taught for Pentagon chaplains, and counseled military couples. Her book, True Grid, offers insights for those in transition or searching for purpose, and her Xtreme Dream Seminar helps individuals rebuild their lives after significant setbacks. And today we'll explore her experiences and the wisdom she shares with veterans and military families. So before we get into all of that, Charlynne, welcome to the show. I'm really glad to have you here.
God, it's always an honor to be with anyone that has served our nation. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you bet. And it's interesting. You have an interesting background. I talked a little bit about it in the intro there, and I'm sure we'll get more into that as we go. But um, it's great having people who have had some experience with the military and some of the issues that they are maybe dealing with. Obviously, one person's issues are not representative of the entire community, but you over time you can start to piece together some little bits and pieces that are common amongst other people. And I'd love for you to maybe share some of your experiences serving as a guest military chaplain and teaching the Pentagon chaplains, the things that you've done kind of with the military community, and kind of talk about that, a little bit about your background, and then we can get into kind of, some of the common themes or challenges that folks are maybe having.
Right. Well, when I first started, working with military people, it was usually on disasters, Scott. That was my first time, like being a professional and working with military professionals was working on some of America's biggest disasters. And I was the federal spokesperson in the 90s for the large national disaster exercise America had ever done.
Hmm.
And we had lots of military personnel for that. And it was amazing. Even though I was a Fed, the military guys that I know, all active duty, that, were tasked to be a part of that exercise, we had over 3,000 military personnel for that exercise. It was huge, and it was out in Utah. And Utah at that time was having lots of earthquakes. And we felt they were a pretty good fit for where to stage the thing. And that was probably the beginning, Scott, of me just building that camaraderie. Even though I wasn't enlisted, the
Mhm.
guys just kind of treated me like their sister wherever they went, had to go. I was always tagging along, and I got to work with Army, got to work with Air Force, all these different people. And they, of course, are so well cross trained, and they would ask me questions like, "Hey, Char, have you eaten yet?" And I'd say no, and they'd say, "We're going to get some steak and salad. Want to come with?" And I'm thinking we're going to go somewhere in Utah, when we're not playing the exercise. No,
Sure.
no, with military you can. That they would be in an Army Jeep, Scott, and they would take me out to who knows where, and I would find myself at some undisclosed airfield, and one of these guys in the military would have a plane there, and they would put me in the plane with them, and they would fly me to another state, Scott, for steak and salad. I said, "We can go good." Like, "Nah, nah, nah, everybody's doing that. Everybody's doing that. Go somewhere else." They would fly me into Nevada from Utah for dinner, put me back in the plane, and fly me back to the. That was my first experience with military.
The funny thing is, you never know where where the story, like, you started telling that story, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this seems fairly common, where there's a training exercise of some sort, and folks are there, and you're getting to know them, the camaraderie, and getting to, but in the back of my head, I was like, you never know where these stories can end up, especially in the military. Um, you know, you have all sorts of different options, and that was one that I didn't see that coming. But I don't doubt it either. Like it's that
Yeah,
type of thing.
and I just loved it. I was always the sidekick, like, "Oh, Shar, what are you doing? Um, here's what we're gonna do. You wanna come with?" I mean, it was
Yeah.
always a thing, and I think wherever I've been, military guys have always said, "Oh, Char's single, but we treat her like our sister, so we're just gonna invite her. Oh, we're gonna take the copter up tonight. Wanna go, Char?" I mean, I've had that all throughout my life, which is probably why my family knows if you wanna make my day, buy me a helicopter ride with someone in the military for a gift, and that has happened all throughout my life. Navy, Army, you wouldn't believe all the military I've flown with, which is why to this day, Scott, I have a huge, huge love for helicopters.
That's good.
And
Yeah.
even the military in Canada is like, "Ooh, Char's here. Oh, she likes to come hang with the guys, so let's just grab her. We're gonna go into grizzly country, but we're taking the chopper." And I'm like, "Count me in. I'm going," you know? And so for me, as starting off with military, it was that. And I think because of the camaraderie, Scott, then the guys start saying, "Okay, I can talk to her about my girlfriend issues or,
Mhm.
I'm married to this gal now and we're having problems with our kids. What do we do? Because the other hat that I've worn in my life has been super nanny. So, they have felt very safe talking to me about family issues. And by the time I moved to Europe and, I was invited to go and work with NATO forces in Germany, um, there was just that total trust there, and
Yep.
so the lead chaplain there for US forces was a friend of mine by this time, a longstanding friend. I knew him and his wife before they got married, and, he said, "Love to have you come over and let's just see what would happen."
Mhm.
And it started out with me being a part of helping a general with a dream that he'd had, and he didn't understand it, and it was quite biblical in context. And when I got there, they just again, that door opened, just same kind of door that I'd seen with camaraderie on disasters for America. Then it was, "Hey, Shark, could you help us with it? We have
Mhm.
this military family that adopted a baby in another country, but now, um, they're not quite sure how to handle what's happening. There's a lot of scary things happening in their house, and it's supernatural in scope. Can you help us?" And that's right up my alley. And I would say to anyone, Scott, listening to your cast today that, um, the supernatural is more real than the chairs you and I are sitting on. You said earlier, I am a military chaplain who's often guesting in some capacity somewhere. And when I come in, it's usually because there's some kind of crisis. That was always my specialty as a Fed. And there's usually some kind of crisis going on. And they say, "Ooh, this might be something Shark can help with." So in that particular instance, military family has children of their own. But while they were, PCSed somewhere else, they decide to adopt a child from a tribe of people, and it's not their background. So you have a different color, different nationality, and yet they love this baby. They decide to do something really wonderful, and yet they're bringing into their home some supernatural issues they did not bargain for.
Hmm. Interesting. And
Yeah, and so I
and s
said, "Wow." I said,
yeah.
"Let me help you with that."
Well, and I think, in order for someone to come to you with any sort of issue that they may be having with whether it's uh, you know girlfriend issue, marital problems, or you name it, the other issues, there has to be some level of trust there, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
kind of that approach that you're talking about with kind of just getting that camaraderie where they know you, you're approachable in everyday situations, where they can invite you out to dinner, even if it is flying you across state lines to another place, right? But they're comfortable enough with you that they'll include you in their shenanigans,
Yeah.
and when there's something real going on, that they need some help with, they're comfortable enough to talk with you about that. And I think that's important. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because, um, not only is it important for someone in a role like a chaplain type role, or something along those lines, um, it's important just for people in your life in general to have those people where you are comfortable talking with them about everyday things, and then when you need help with something, you got to have that person to be able to talk to, and be able to just even just sometimes the act of talking to somebody else helps kind of clarify things in your own mind, and the other person doesn't need to say anything. They can just sit there and talk and listen,
Yeah.
and you talk, and then you kind of figure it out on your own. I've had that happen several times where I've been talking with my wife, and I'm like, "Hey, I got this thing going on. I'm trying to figure it out." And as I'm talking, I'm like, "You know what? I think I just figured it out." And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's great to have someone, and doesn't happen all the time, but it's great to have somebody there that you can
Yeah.
talk to. And so I think that that's kind of important. But in that role that you had, you've probably experienced a number of challenges that military families and couples that they've had. What are some of the common challenges that you've seen, and how do you what's your approach to counseling them? Is it kind of like what I was saying, just like being that ear that they can talk to, or is there something a little more in depth that you go into?
Well, the other thing I think we're seeing, always, I think because there's so many stresses with military families, one of the things I've noticed across the board is, you often have single parents out there,
Yeah.
because, not every marriage can handle the stresses of military life where, it's not uncommon for the average military person to, have 20 different locations they've lived in around or more around the world. When I talk to military wives, they are packing up and moving all the time.
Yep.
And it puts stress on a marriage. And if you have children at home and your husband, let's say he's a submariner and he's out maybe 3, 4, 6 months at sea, and you're having to play mom and dad at home, it puts strain
Hmm.
there. And so I, worked with, the UK military with Navy situations with military families, but also US as well. And I got to work with some single dads and talk to them about their children making best decisions for their kids where they have custody perhaps. So I've had a lot of men say I've got custody of my son and daughter, and I will of course send the kids to see their mom from here and there, but Shar, now I'm here, I'm based in the state, help me out with this kid situation and what I'm dealing with. And so that's where my seminar would come into play that you mentioned earlier from my book True Grid, which is on Amazon, it's on Kindle, and it's also on Audible if you want to check it out and have me read it to you. But in that book, we talk about looking at all three parts of your life. And in that one military case where I had a single dad who had custody, he said, I just feel like everything's all over the place, Shard, and nothing's seeming to fit right now. And they're coming into those preteen years. And I said, well, here's what I sense. If we get dad situated and dad at peace, then the things will fall into place for the kids because they're looking for you to be secure.
Hmm.
When you're secure and okay, then they're gonna feel peace in their surroundings. So I said, let's work with you. And so he came and spent a whole day with me. We looked at his natural situation. So I call it, spirit, soul, and body of your vision and your purpose where you want to go. I said, let's look at your natural surroundings, how that's working, where you and the kids are living. Is it safe? Is it secure? What are your neighbors like? All this kind of stuff. Is there a support base for you? What about your in-laws? Are they around? Can we count on them when dad needs a break? Can they be in a safe place with in-laws, grandmas, grandpas, all that? So we looked at that. And also his job in the reserves. We looked at all of that. And his thought about going into civilian life at some point. We talked about that. Then in that soulish realm, we looked at his mind, his will, and his emotions. Where is he at on the inside? What did he want to talk about? How could we bring peace to his inner man, so to speak, while he's going through all these things out here with him and the kids? Also dating, we talked about all of that. I put that in that room when guys come to me, military, or not, I say to them, your heart issues, the soulish realm, your mind, will, and emotions is where we look at those dating issues and where do you want to be? What kind of person floats your boat? All of that. So when you're single and you're divorced and you're military, we're looking at that. The
Mm.
other thing we look at is your spirit. Scott, I don't know if you know this, but any doctor will tell you out there that when someone flatlines, 21 grams of weight leaves every single person's body. And we know now that that's your spirit. That is your spirit. Your literal spirit has weight to it. And the minute anybody flatlines, whether you're 100 pounds or 500 pounds, 21 grams leaves your body. And we know
Yeah.
the weight, and that's separate from your soulish realm. The weight, your spiritual self has a weight to it. And, I talked to him about that. We talk about, do you have a faith? What is your faith in? And do you pray? And what are you meditating on? Because we know whatever your thoughts are, it should not be, as I call it, stinking thinking. It needs to be healthy thought. They're gonna help you turn those thoughts into action that actually will be a blessing to you, and in this soldier's case, his children. And, so it was just a great day for him, a great day for him to vent, maybe even cry a little at some
Mhm.
things that he was dealing with. And, I know that the in-laws knew I was working with him, and I said, "In a perfect world, we wanna work together." So, me as chaplain/counselor, yes, an ordained minister, but also who has a heart for military families and the incredible sacrifices they make so that we in America can keep all of our freedoms. For
Mhm.
me, that is priceless. So anytime military calls me, whether you're a veteran or whether you're a reservist or whether you're active duty, male or female, I'm gonna, be right there to help and give that listening ear, um, to those parents, whether you're single, married, going through a divorce, struggling with kids. I've also had high ranking officers call and say, "Hey, I need some prayer because this is what I'm dealing with my teenagers right now. And Shar, might you come spend some time with my teenagers?" And, so I've done that. I've nannied for, active duty officers that have gone to get some quiet quality time with their wives. I think that is key too. That's probably one of the greatest things I can do is maybe step in for parents of military kids and be that safe person on base with kids while the parents go to another country and just get away from it all
Mhm.
and really build some, so-called me time for that marriage where there's no kids involved. They don't have to worry about their kids. They know that they're in safe hands and they can go check in on their marriage. How are we doing? Do we still love each other? Do we understand what that means? Are we actively operating in each other's love languages? There's 5 love languages. What are we doing with that? When I got to Germany, Scott, I had the wonderful discovery that the same Gary Chapman who wrote the famous book Love Languages, The 5 Love Languages, he wrote a military edition. Have you seen that?
I haven't. No, I knew about the 5, the original 5, I guess, let's call
Yes.
it that, but, I didn't know that there was a, military edition of that. That is interesting.
Yeah, and so, of course, when I got to Germany, I went and chatted with some of the school educators for the kids, and I just thought, "Let me get my bearings, let me meet some people, see what's going on here on this base in Germany," and, I was just so glad to find that out. I did not know that, and they said, "Oh, Reverend, you gotta have some of these," and I said, "Oh my goodness, we have the military version, and why would there need to be a military version?" Well, because military families, as you and I know, Scott, go through things that no other kind of family goes through.
Sure.
Yeah,
And
yes, families have problems out there, but when you're in the military, you have extra pressures. Would you agree?
oh, absolutely. And even just something as simple as like you were talking about before, something that happens routinely where sailors are off at sea on a ship for however many months, or deployment. We're not. We've pulled out of Afghanistan and things like that, but there's still deployments going on around the world. Um, that happens too, and so now we have soldiers and Marines, airmen, sailors. We have them all over the world, and those people likely have families of some sort, back home. And where's the support for them? A lot of times with the frequent moves going from one place to another, they're not around family where they can
No,
have, uh,
no.
the grandparents around, or aunts or uncles or cousins, or whoever to be around to help out and support the family while somebody's away.
Yes,
And so building that network, we are talking about that camaraderie before,
yes,
having that with people. So it's like, oh, hey, our neighbor, they're have someone deployed and they might need some extra help. As a matter of fact, we
yes,
have a neighbor near us, and uh, the husband is deployed, and every once in a while, just check in, and if there's something that we can help out with, we help out. If you know it's just kind of just being there for somebody, and if there's more that we can do, we certainly would. But it's really just, I think, just being there and knowing that
yeah,
there's someone there who can help out when things are getting out of control, and
yeah,
everything, and so
yeah,
um I want to talk about the Extreme Dream Seminar. That sounds
yeah,
interesting to me as well.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
it's
uh,
fun.
tell us a little bit about the seminar. What people can expect from it when
Well,
they check it out, and how can it help folks?
well, this is what, like, if we go back to that single parent dad, it
Yeah,
really helped him get his feet on the ground and make some decisions about where he wanted to go. And so, as I said earlier, I'm looking at the three different parts of what I call the anatomy of a dream or vision or your purpose. And it is looking at your body, soul, and spirit. There are three parts to us. Each one of us on the planet has a body, soul, and a spirit. So we break that apart with regard to vision. And we also look at three time periods in your life, Scott. So I look at the next 30 days in someone's life. I then look at the next 1 to 6 months with regard to all three parts that I just mentioned,
uh-huh,
and the next 1 to 5 years. So you're looking at where you are now over a 5 year period, and what are those goals, those purposes that really are key in your life, who should be in your life that isn't there now. And maybe there are relationships in your life that are not adding to your purpose that should not have the same, let's say, access to you that they have right now. Because
mhm,
a lot of times, sometimes we share dreams and visions that we have. And when I say a dream or vision, Scott, I mean your purpose for life. Sometimes you share where you want to go with the wrong people, not meaning to. You're just talking about what's exciting to you, what you want to do. And we can have naysayers come about as a result of that. So
yeah,
I'm really coaching my clients on who to share their heart with, their innermost heart with, who's safe, who's not. And we really talk a great deal about boundaries. What is a boundary? Well, a boundary keeps the good things in and the bad things out. And how do we help people create a safe environment to actually live out that purpose that they believe that they're called to do, whether it's in military, whether you choose to be a reservist, whether it's time for you to retire and you're going to be a veteran who's looking at something else in civilian lifestyle. All of that. How do you build the right friends? I'm also teaching people how to build what I call your board for you incorporated. If we treated ourselves like a corporation, what kind of board or cabinet would you build for yourself? What does that look like? How do you know what kind of people to approach? And how do you actually walk out goals that are doable that help you really build those big dreams and see them come into fruition. And that's why I call it the extreme dream, because I really believe every single person has incredible dreams on the inside of them. And we all need cheerleaders. And I really believe, I think God put me on planet Earth to be a cheerleader for other people. I certainly had them in my life, and one of my main mentors for many years was a combat Marine officer. Scott, can you believe that? Combat Marine officer who is a guy, but he also became a Fortune 500 business consultant. And he said, you know, Shar, you're kind of a warrior. There's a part of you, even though you're very feminine outwardly, he said, there's a part of you that is a kick butt warrior, but then you're also quite entrepreneurial, and you also have a governmental thing. Now, in the Bible, we had two patriarchs in the Bible. One was Joseph. He was the business leader, you know, for the Jewish people, and he saved their nation in times of famine. And Daniel was a Jewish guy who served like three different kings in Arabia. He was this incredible governmental leader that they never let go of because he was so wise. And my mentor said, you know, that's kind of where you're at. And yet, I've learned so much from him because of the disciplines in the military that he gained as a Marine. And I'm just so honored to know him. And his books are on Amazon too. I think he's written like 8 books, and his name is Morris Ruddick. He's written 8 different books. He's traveled the globe for U.S. forces. And what an incredible, you know, Christian leader who happens to be a retired Marine combat officer. And he mentored me for a number of years, and I'm so grateful for that. And you know, again, there's that military thread that's always running through my life, and things that I've learned, you know, men like yourself, Scott, and many, many others, and women out there too, the disciplines that are gained in the U.S. military fortify you from the inside out, I believe, and make our forces the strongest forces on planet Earth. And we're so proud of all of you. And yet, when I take a look at that and I'm working with military families, I'm looking at, even in the UK, I've worked with so many military families in the UK with Extreme Dream. I'm doing the same thing with them. And recently I had the request to do an entire military family in the UK. And the father was a high ranking medical officer. And he said, would you do my entire family? So they have 2 daughters at the time, 2 teenage daughters. And his wife is also in the medical field, and she is a radiologist. And so I had the whole family doing Extreme Dream with me. And so we looked at the kids individually, and
Mhm.
then we looked at the wife individually, the husband individually, and the two of them together as a couple. So when you do Extreme Dream, you could come to me as a military family and say, Char, like they did, we want the whole family to go through this together. Or you could say, could you just do this with my kid to help them transition into the next place we're going to? Or the couple could say, we just want to do this for our anniversary weekend. And that often happens, Scott. I can't tell you how many couples have repeatedly done Extreme Dream with me at 5-year junctures in their marriage, because they said it just keeps our feet on the ground. It keeps us well, you know, oiled, so to speak, for the engine of our family to operate properly. It helps us stay focused on what's important to this family. And so I've just had the great honor of taking a sneak peek into people's lives, being that cheerleader for them in all their different military transitions, saying, this could be your roadmap as a family. And it looks at your natural gift as well as those internal gifts, the way that you're motivated, the way that you make decisions. There's so many different tools I use in Extreme Dream to help couples, young people, even single people find out what is the best path for them with the choices they have within the military and without the military.
Mhm.
You know, because at some point, folks are going to probably retire, and you might want to do something else. What if you decide to write books? I know one military leader, you know, has created a foundation for veterans, and he also writes books. So there's a lot of different things that you can do once you come back home and you PCS to your final place that you want to be. And, if somebody calls me, Scott, and says, "Hey, Shar, can you help me with this?" I'm going to say, "Yes, here's the textbook, but I also have a workbook we're going to work through as well." And it's going to give you some things to consider in that next place. And Extreme Dream was created for people in transition. And my first class, Scott, has 1,000 people in it in Europe that had lost their jobs ages 20 to 65. And
Mm.
we first started teaching this in the late 90s, and there was a recession, and I had 1,000 people without jobs in front of me. And out of that came some of the top business leaders in the United Kingdom in that first class. And then I started doing it in America and around the globe.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned, in all of this, and you said, I believe you said, and maybe I'm paraphrasing here, that everybody has a purpose within them, but a lot of times the folks are struggling to figure out what that purpose is, and it sounds like
Oh,
this
yeah.
this seminar is helpful in figuring that out, but one of the things I see, and I hear this all the time from veterans, is you go from, being a 18-year-old kid who, I don't know, who you got your whole life ahead of you, and so you're not really thinking much about purpose and, what is my purpose? But at that point, you join the military, you're in for however long you're in, and the military is your purpose, serving your country. That's a pretty big purpose, right?
It is.
Your identity is tied into that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you've it's like flipping a light switch, and you take that uniform off for the last time, and now you're a veteran. And it's like, okay, well, what is a veteran? It's not
Yeah.
it's just a label of that identifies what you used to do, but it doesn't identify anything about what you are now, or what your purpose is now. And so folks struggle with that.
Oh, yeah.
Any advice for folks who are struggling to figure out their purpose, or searching for direction in their lives? Just
Yeah.
what's the
The first thing
what's ahead for me?
Well, the first thing I usually do with people, and it sounds crazy, but it's so powerful, and some people do it, but the way that I do it is this. I encourage people to get a poster board. I encourage them to get their favorite color. Go into Walgreens or some art store and get a huge piece of poster board. Pick a color you like, and then get a stack of old magazines. I know today, with so tech driven a society that we have, people might say magazines. Oh man, I don't get magazines anymore. But grab them. Go to a recycling place and grab a stack of magazines. And also go to your favorite Barnes and Noble, your favorite newsstand. Grab some magazines and sit down and start cutting. And I usually tell my clients, cut for an hour. Everything that jumps out at you. Don't analyze it. Don't pick it apart. Don't put any psychobabble on it. Just cut it out. Get a stack of clippings. Start with that first for an hour, and then in your next hour, just take 2 hours for yourself to do this. In your second hour, take those clippings and create what I call the treasure map to your heart, or the dream board. Do the dream board, and then look at it later. Set it aside and come back to it and look at it and go, "Oh my gosh, where in the world did I find that picture? And why is that central in the board? What does that mean to me? Why did I do that?" Because those boards do speak, Scott. They start talking to you. And when I'm looking at that board, I'm helping my clients interpret what that's actually saying to someone like me, who's an objective onlooker. So sometimes people take pictures of their boards and send it to me, and they'll say, "Shar, what do you see in this?" And I'll say, "Wow, did you consider this?" Or, "When I look at this board, this is what it says to me. Now you tell me what that means to you." And people are off and running just with that dream board. We take what the pictures tell us, Scott, from the dream board, and we put that into words that are then doable, bite-sized goals for that extreme dream grid, which I call the vision and purpose grid. And that
Sure.
is in my book. In the early part of the book, you see the whole grid. It has all three parts: body, soul, spirit, and then the three timelines. The next 30 days, what are you going to do with all three parts of you? The next 1 to 6 months, what are the doable goals for all three parts of you? And then the next 1 to 5 years, in a perfect world, if you could not fail in any way, shape, or form, where would you see yourself in the next 1 to 5 years? Can't tell you how many people, Scott, they see their dreams realized. Just taking that time. I had the top developer in the United Kingdom do that with me. He and his wife, and I, we went away together for a weekend, Extreme Dream Couples Weekend. It blew his mind. He'd never done anything like that. At first, he goes, "Oh, really, sir? I gotta get a poster board like a kid and do all this, because he'd never done a collage before." I said, "Yes, I'm asking you to do a collage without putting any psychobabble on it or thinking about it. Just cut and paste. That's all I'm asking you to do for 2 hours." It blew his mind, the inner self that came out on that board.
Mhm.
I had another guy call me one time, and he had said to me, I did it with him when he was like single, and he put the board, he had this bright yellow board, I'll never forget it. He had a bright yellow board, Scott, with this beautiful, like, Barbie doll, like, person that he wanted to marry, blonde, blue-eyed, beautiful lady, and then he had a yellow house with a white picket fence, and he had a schnauzer on there, a dog, that breed,
Yep. Yep.
and he had a little boy and a little girl, and that was his dream, and he also had dolphins on it. He said, "I'm gonna find the Barbie doll. I wanna find the Barbie doll wife shark. I'm attracted to blondes. I just want a beautiful blonde, and I wanna swim with the dolphin." Do you know everything on the board came to pass, Scott, and he didn't even recognize it till they were probably into the marriage 2 or 3 years later, and he called me screaming down the phone, "Char, you won't believe it, you won't believe it, you won't believe it." I go, "What? What happened? What happened?" He said, "My wife looked at my dream board, which is on the guest bathroom door." I go, "Okay." And he goes, "We're just out of the way. We hadn't looked at it for a long time because it's the guest bathroom. We don't go in there." I go, "Okay." And he goes, "She took it down and she called him. She said, 'Hey, when did we sign and close on our house?'" He goes, "Why do you care about that? The house is ours. We're here. We're having a great time." She goes, "No, just get me the deed. I want to see it." Because what he had put on the dream board, Scott, was the date he wanted to close on the yellow house with the white picket. He put dates as to when he wanted to swim with the dolphins by.
Yeah.
He put dates as to when he wanted to have children. Do you know all the dates were marked on that board, and they hit every single one of them. And he never realized it until 3 years into the marriage. He goes, "Oh my gosh, sir, we even have a schnauzer." I go, "Good for you." I said, "Yeah, it happened." He goes, "No, you gotta come over. We gotta celebrate." He goes, I believe God did this." I go, "Yeah, I'm sure he did." I said, "Literally every single picture on his dream board came to place, and he has the most adorable Barbie doll wife. She is just adorable, beautiful blonde Barbie doll. He got it all.
Mhm.
But see, he had planted that thought in his mind, Scott. And at the time, he was thinking, "Boy, what kind of girl that looked like that is going to marry me?" He was such a humble man. And probably my favorite motivational speaker is this guy. And I will never forget being at his wedding, thinking to myself, "There she is."
Mhm.
But he had not caught that yet. It was 3 years later. It was like, oh my gosh, at that moment, they had the little girl first. By the time they looked the board, they'd got the boy. They got the baby boy. I mean, he had it all. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, great." But that
That's great.
happens all the time. That happens all
Well,
the time to me. I get
yeah,
calls
and
like that all the time.
I think one benefit of the process that you're going through is, well, actually, there's 2 things that I could think of off the top of my head. Is one, the first one I was gonna say is when you when you're planning anything, even in the military, when you're planning a mission,
Yeah,
you figure out, okay, let's work backwards. What's the end goal? What's the objective of this mission? And let's work our way backwards to now and figure out, okay, this place we need to get to. We need to get there by X time, and it takes a half hour to get there. Okay, let's factor in 10 or 15 minutes for, a buffer time to make sure we're there on time, and all these things. You factor all this stuff in, and that allows you to succeed in that mission. If you think about things like, here's your goals for your future in the next 30 days, 6 months, years from now, whatever the time period is.
yeah,
I would like to you know, in this case, like with this guy, I'd like to be married to Barbie, you know,
Yeah.
by X, X date. Okay, well, how do you do that? Right. First off, you got to find Barbie, and you got to
Yeah.
she's got to like you. So
Yeah.
you know you got a little work to do there, but you
That's
at
right.
least have like, okay, I want this by X. Okay, how do I figure that out? And then you work your way backwards, and
Yeah. Exactly.
it does that for you. But the other thing that I was thinking of is, you know, I kind of had the same thought as the guy that you were talking about, who's like, oh, I gotta cut and paste like, you know, a kid does, and all that kind of stuff. But then I was thinking, okay, what are the merits of doing this type of thing? What, like, why, if it was me sitting there, like, why would I do this, right? And as I'm going through, flipping through a magazine, which, to your point, I haven't done it in a long time because most of the stuff is online. But
Yeah.
you know, thinking back to, you know, when you would flip through a magazine, there's always something that catches your eye. It's usually, you know, a picture or some graphic or something's going to catch your eye.
Some
And there's a
slogan.
slogan even. Yep, exactly. It could be a headline on an article. It could be something that's going to catch your attention
Mhm.
and just draw you to it. Um,
Amen.
why is it drawing you to it? Maybe that's something that's missing in your life. You know, if
Yeah.
like in this guy's case, he
Exactly.
put out a picture of Barbie. Well, that was Barbie was missing in his life, right? And so
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
found a picture of that, and he put
Yeah.
that in his stack of cutouts. But there's a reason why stuff pops out at you. Even advertisements like billboards on the side of the highway or television
Oh, yeah.
commercials. There's a reason why they are effective. It's because
Mhm.
there's something in your life that you either need, or you can really be convinced to want it a lot. But
Yeah, and it's something, Scott, that you'll work toward. I mean,
yeah,
that is what I'm getting out to be because even the
right.
multimillionaire that had the empire or has the empire in England that was one of my clients, a guy like that has everything, he thought, and he's like, "Oh, why am I doing it? Doesn't make any sense to me." And when he did it, oh my gosh, to the emotion. It hit a button in him that he had not considered, and
Mhm,
it literally rocked his world and it changed his life. That moment.
right.
It changed his life. That weekend, it's something he'll never forget
And there are
because he had
certain things
never
that
taken that
yeah,
kind of time for himself to think like that.
mhm. And there's certain things that money just can't buy, right? And
That's
so
right.
if you can have all the money in the world, you could be a billionaire, and you can have all this kind of money, but there's certain things that it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much money you're willing to spend, or anything like that. If you don't have Barbie in your life, you're not going to have Barbie, right? It doesn't matter.
No.
Um,
And you're not gonna have a family without that other half in your
right,
life.
right.
You can't have a baby without that other half.
That's right.
Whether you're a girl looking for the guy or, a man like that who's saying, "I'm tired of being single, Shar. How do
Hmm.
we get past this?" And, most of my clients, Scott, are men that have asked me to come be that relationship coach
Sure.
for them.
Yeah. And that's, I think, important to have somebody who can help guide you in the right direction, you know, and
Yeah.
give you the nudge, because you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe you don't have a whole lot of luck in the dating scene or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, why? You know,
Yeah.
there's got to be a
Yeah.
reason, right?
Absolutely.
You're you know, and it's funny. My kids and I, we were watching the movie Back to the Future a couple days ago, and
Oh, yeah.
and funny funny the scene where he goes back and he meets his dad, and he's trying to get his dad to be set up with his mom, and his dad's all awkward, and he's not
Yeah.
confident in himself, and he doesn't know how to, like, how do I even approach a woman? How do I talk to her? And he
Yeah.
writes down notes of like what he's supposed to say, and he
Yeah.
botches that and whatever. But it's like you need someone there to kind of give you that push sometimes, to
Absolutely. We all
get
need it.
you there, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it may not just be dating; it might be in your career, or it might be,
Right.
you know, in
That's
some
right.
other aspect of your life. You might need to have somebody
Yeah.
there who can push you in the right direction. Not push like, "Go get what's wrong with you? Get off your ass, go do this thing," blah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
not like that, not being a nag,
No.
but give you the nudge to be like, "Hey,
Yeah. Be
this
a
is how
cheerleader.
it
Yeah.
works. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We
yeah,
you know, we need cheerleaders, and I certainly wouldn't have gotten to, the White House. I wouldn't have had that encouragement without the mentors and the
mhm,
cheerleaders I had, who by and large, Scott, are men in my life that always told me you can do it.
yeah,
And then, Hollywood too. There's so many mentors I had along the way to get my crazy extreme dreams. And when God opened those doors for me and led my feet to the right mentors that said, "Oh, Shar, you can do that." They never told me I couldn't do it. Even though a lot of people laughed when they heard about some of those dreams, they never laughed in my face about it. And I think, for me, it's, having that ability to do the same and pay it forward for others is
yeah,
what I really feel like God told me to do. He's like, "You have lived incredible dreams. You've worked for the most powerful man in the world who is America's commander in chief. You've done assignments with 3 US presidents. And then you turn around and go, 'Oh, I think I'd like to have my own show in Hollywood.'" And, a lot of people laughed at that. They're like, "You are out of your mind." Even when I said I wanted to work for the president, they were like, "Are you kidding me? Uh, this is crazy. You can't just wake up one day and do that." But that's kind of what happened. And I, coached myself first, had those great cheerleaders, whispering in my ear, "You can do it. You can do it, honey." And then got there, and then everybody stopped laughing.
mhm,
And then I decided, well, don't be teaching about extreme dream unless you're living it. And I've always lived that extreme dream lifestyle so that my life is an example of what anybody can do, given, good advice, cheerleading, and really taking bite-sized doable chunks of something that looks impossible, and then seeing every single one of my clients, and I'm talking hundreds of people all over the globe, who've spent some time with me, um, seeing them walk into their dreams. One family just did a weekend celebration recently with me, Scott. They said, we look at both sons', boards, and everything on both of my sons' board has become a reality. It said this, "Dad," he goes, "We want you to come out to the house. We're gonna celebrate as a family what happened for my son." And, it was powerful because we had looked at those dream boards in, like, 15 years, and to see where those sons are, one wanted to become a multi-million dollar, real estate developer. The other son wanted to become a professional soccer player. They got their dreams, Scott,
that's great.
got their dreams, and they got their version of Barbie. They got their children. They got everything they wanted, and the father, the grandpa said, "It's time to celebrate.
Yeah,
I asked you to take on my 2 sons, Shar, years ago. You took on both sons, and they're both very different." And he said, "We're gonna celebrate what happened
sure,
with Extreme
sure,
Dream." And I've never had a family do that before, where they go, "We're gonna celebrate the Extreme Dream results." That
that's
was
great.
so exciting.
You you mentioned your book, earlier, True Grid. Tell us a little bit about that, and kinda key takeaways people might be able to expect from the book, that
Okay.
might be impactful for them.
Okay. Well, when you grab a hard copy of True Grit, like I said, it's on Amazon, ebooks for Kindle, and also Audible. If you want me to read it to you, you will see a series of chapters that take you through real life stories of people. And of course, I've changed their names to protect them, but I tell stories of people that I've actually helped. And I, will also put in there a couples chapter, Scott, as well as a singles chapter, because the dynamics of walking out purpose and vision for singles, as you can imagine, is very different than working with couples or a family, for instance, that's working with me, or a young person. It's very different. So I tell a little bit of those real life stories from different age groups. And then I'm also going to give you the grid itself. So everything I've described here in this podcast is actually in the book. You will see how to fill out the grid. I will walk you step by step how to do that in all 3 parts of your life: body, soul, spirit, and all 3 time periods. The next 30 days, the next 1 to 6 months, the next 1 to 5 years for your grid. I will also give you the 10 road signs to what to expect, to know what to expect if you choose to walk out the extreme dream journey for your own life.
Awesome, and you said you narrated the audiobook,
Yeah,
version.
yeah. The Audible
W
book, yep. If you go to
Yeah,
Audible, you will hear me reading it to you. You can do that. And my other book is there as well. And that's No Appointments Necessary. And it really shows you, if you choose to live out the extreme dream lifestyle, what does your life look like? So in that second book I wrote, No Appointments Necessary, which is also Amazon, Kindle, and it's also available on Audible, I walk you through what my extreme dream life looks like
Yeah,
and how much fun it is, and it's in 7 different countries. So
that's
that book
awesome.
is split up by country. So we start in America, but I think I end up in Israel, but it tells you about my life in Germany. And yes, there are military stories in there. Really just, great experiences in my life that let you know that, if you choose to live on that lifestyle where you're watching your boundaries, you're living life to the full, you're having a lot of fun, and you're drawing the people into your life, Scott, that are going to help you, be that person that you want to be and walk out that dream that you have. All of that you will see in the second book, but the first book, True Grid, actually shows you how to get that journey started. What are the pitfalls? What do you want to avoid? And what are those things you want to run toward with gusto?
Awesome, awesome, and I'll have links to all of that in the, show notes and everything else that we talked about here today as well, including your any social media, uh, uh, ways to connect with you and things along those lines as well, so folks, if you're looking to get in touch, you can just check out the show notes, grab a copy of the book, definitely grab a copy of the book, because it feels like that will help kind of fill in some of the gaps. I know we talked about a bunch of the stuff today on the episode, but some of the how tos maybe are uh,
Mm,
a little bit
yeah.
missing from the episode, which is fine because I don't want to give everything away. Give people a reason to get a copy of that book, but um, you know. But in all seriousness, having a copy of the book will help you kind of guide you along the way and fill in some of the blanks of some of the things that maybe we didn't cover today in this episode. Um, Charlynne, it's been a pleasure having you on. Before we
Oh,
wrap up the show, I do want to just add a little bit of humor. I always like to add a little humor at the end of the episodes,
yeah.
and my kids, for Father's Day, they got me this dad jokes book, and so
Oh,
that's what I'm using now, because it's got, I don't know, however many pages, 100 something pages, 200 pages of dad jokes, and
oh,
so I don't think it's gonna get old, so, well, it probably will get old to somebody, but I'm a dad, and dad jokes are kinda my wheelhouse, so,
yeah.
this is good. So here we go. One day there's a teacher sent the, class troublemaker to the principal's office, and the principal asked, "Do you know why you're here?" And the kid hesitated, and he said, "Because of this morning." And, trying to be vague and not allude to too many things that he might have done, right? And the principal goes, "Yep. Your teacher says you ran in the hall, you hit 2 students, you started a food fight in the cafeteria, and you cursed at one of your classmates." And and the kid goes, "Well, boy, that's a relief. I thought you found out that I broke your car windshield."
Oh dear.
A little bit of trouble. Anyways,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh
anyways,
yeah.
well, thank you again for taking the time to come on and sharing
Oh,
the kind of lessons and the strategies that you've used with other folks to help them along their journey and figuring out how to find their purpose, repair marriages and other relationships that they may have in their lives, and you know working with those types of folks. So thank you again.
you know what, Scott? It's always my pleasure to be with anyone connected to our military community. Love you guys, whether you're serving, reservist, veteran, whatever. Love the men and women of our nation. Am so very proud of what you have accomplished, what you've done for us as a nation, and just respect you all and admire you. So it's my pleasure. All of that to say, it's my pleasure to be here with you today. And I just hope and pray your listeners are encouraged where they are with the things we shared today.
Excellent. Well, thank you again. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to the Drive On Podcast. If you want to support the show, please check out Scott's book, Surviving Son, on Amazon. All of the sales from that book go directly back into this podcast and work to help veterans in need. You can also follow the Drive On Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts.